The Business Review brings you top financial news, developments, influencing currencies, commodities, global commerce, tourism, and other economic events from around the globe.
International Astronautical Federation, or the IAF, President Pascal Airfrand said the space industry is vibrant and dynamic amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Airfrand made the comment during the ongoing 71st International Astronautical Congress, which kicked off on October 12 online. Despite the turmoil caused by the coronavirus pandemic across many sectors, Airfrand says she is still cautiously optimistic about the space industry, pointing to the high number of launches in 2020, including China's Mars probe Tianwen, which blasted into space in July. Talking about the future of the space sector, the IAF president said that how data is analyzed and distributed is essential to the future development of the industry.
Few people were traveling in Campania, one of Italy's regions worst hit in recent weeks by a surge in cases of the pandemic after the government imposed the strict new restrictions to try and contain the spread of the virus. There were barely any people on a ferry traveling from Naples to the glamorous island of Capri, one of the region's most popular tourist destinations. There would be usually tourists filling the windy streets of Ireland and packing the restaurants overlooking the stunning view of the shore, but now only a handful of people were present. Infections in Italy have soared in the last few weeks, and government imposed new restrictions on gatherings, restaurants, sports, and school activities. Lazio, the region that surrounds Rome, is another one that has been hit hard by recent surge in cases. Despite the rise in contagion, rush hour in the capital has been busy as usual, with people wearing the mandatory masks. The new decree bans parties in restaurants, clubs are in the open air, and rules that restaurants can remain open until midnight for table service, but cannot serve people standing up inside or outside the premises after 9 p.m. This is intended to stop the large evening gatherings outside, which are partly blamed on a spread of the virus. Rome's ancient Trastevere neighborhood, an area famed for having a buzzing nightlife, was virtually empty, with few people out and about on the cobbled streets as restaurants prepared to close early.
Thailand and China have agreed to open a fast lane for personal exchanges and a green channel for exchanges of goods between the two countries amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The two sides reached the agreement during a meeting between Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha and visiting Chinese State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi. At the meeting, Prayut said Thailand is very grateful for China's support and assistance in its fight against COVID-19. Thailand also welcomes China's announcement that if it succeeds in its COVID-19 vaccine research and development, China will make the vaccine a global public good. Thailand hopes to enhance cooperation on vaccine research with China. Thai Prime Minister said Thailand and China should formulate plans together for their post-COVID-19 cooperation and push forward the Thailand to China Comprehensive Strategic Cooperative Partnership for further development. Prayut said Thailand hopes to strengthen trade and technology innovation cooperation with China and expects more Chinese enterprises to invest in Thailand. He promised to provide an open, fair and transparent business environment for Chinese enterprises. Prayut added Thailand supports a deep docking of the Eastern Economic Corridor and the Guangdong-Hong Kong-Macau Greater Bay Area, as well as the speed up of interconnectivity. The Prime Minister said Thailand firmly supports the One China principle and is willing to actively participate in the upcoming China International Import Expo. For his part, Wang Wang Yi pointed out that the mutually beneficial cooperation of China and Thailand has successfully withstood the COVID-19 epidemic and achieved growth against the trend, demonstrating the strength and bright prospects for bilateral cooperation. Wang said China will enhance strategic communication with the Thai side to promote bilateral relations to develop further in the post-epidemic era, adding that the two sides should strengthen COVID-19 vaccine cooperation, promote the docking and complementation of the EEC and the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, build new highlights of the Belt and Road and new platforms for interconnectivity. Wang also said China continues to encourage more Chinese enterprises to invest in Thailand and expand cooperation in new economies and new businesses, such as the digital economy. China also welcomes the Thai side to actively participate in the upcoming China International Import Expo.
The British Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, said that Prime Minister Boris Johnson's government was sacrificing jobs and livelihoods in the region to avoid a national lockdown and to protect more affluent areas in the south. Manchester in the north of England and one of Britain's largest cities had been tipped to move to very high alert from high, but the Health Secretary Matt Hancock said talks with local leaders were continuing, so no decision has been made as yet. In areas put on high alert, socializing outside households or support bubbles is not allowed indoors, though work can continue and schools continue to operate. The very high alert level forbids socializing and prohibits travel outside the area. To applause from people in the centre of the city, Andy Burnham said Manchester and nearby Liverpool were being treated as canaries in the coal mine for an experimental COVID regional strategy, and that medical experts admit may not work. Burnham said the city should not go into a more comprehensive lockdown unless London offered financial support to thousands of businesses that would be affected. Cases have been spiralling rapidly in northern England over the last 6 weeks. Burnham added that England's Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Jonathan Van Tam, has told northern leaders that a full national lockdown was the only real solution known to work, but Burnham said Johnson was unwilling to go that far.
US President Donald Trump said he would not support further lockdowns even if faced with a spike in COVID-19 infections as European countries see a surge in cases this fall. The number of new COVID-19 cases rose 11% in the United States last week compared to the previous 7 days, with infections spreading rapidly in the Midwest, which reported some of the highest positive test rates. For a third week in a row, testing set a record high in the country, with on average 976,000 tests conducted each day last week. The percentage of tests that came back positive for the virus rose to 5% from 4.6% the prior week. Trump told supporters during a campaign rally in Florida that coronavirus safety lockdowns had done great damage to the economy and were too drastic.
This brings us to the end of this episode of Business Review. We hope to see you again tomorrow with news of stock markets, economic conferences, commodities, currencies, regional and international financial matters, and more.